आवाज कहीं नहीं सुनाई दे रही है।
Hello everyone, we will start the session in 5 minutes.
Okay, no sunaई दिया। Five minutes. Within 5 minutes, start.
Hello.
Yeah, Ani, you're audible.
Good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome.
Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome to all our viewers for today's webinar. I'm CA Hani Masrani. Firstly, we would like to thank TextGuru for organizing this webinar with us, and thank you to one and all our viewers for their participation. Now, for today's session, we have a very renowned speaker, CA Sunay Jariwala, with us. I would like to briefly introduce him. He's a practicing chartered accountant with more than 15 years of experience and with his offices in Gujarat at Surat and Ahmedabad. He is also an empaneled faculty member in Indirect Tax Committee at Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, as well as he has also organized various seminars at organizations like Confederation of India, Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, WIRC branch, to Kotak Mahindra Bank, Yes Bank, to name the few. Now I would like to hand over to our speaker.
अरे मारो म्यूट है तो A very warm welcome to all of the today's viewers. Friends, firstly, I would like to congratulate and appreciate all of you for being here with us for today's webinar. You all have planned and kept the commitment with yourself to attend the today's session. Today's session would be very interesting in its own ways. Two main reasons which we'll be looking forward in today's session is we will not only see the ITC provisions, but we are going to see the finer points of GST. That is, GST में जो चीजें हमको बारीकी से गहराई से देखनी है, हम उस पे एनालिसिस करेंगे. Also, as a bonus chapter, bonus surprises, we have kept some discussion on written opinion, what is it, and how to give a written opinion. Moreover, we'll also see some rules of interpretation which are important in knowing this GST law. Based on this interpretation rules, only ARs and courts, they give their verdict for the allowability or disallowability of ITC or whichever might be the case against them. As we proceed further for the day, I am reminded of an incident. It was pitch dark night. It was an era of 1900 during the Britishers' rule. A steam engine train was passing by in the dark with all the passengers in it asleep. Suddenly, one gentleman from the lower berth, he stood up and he raised his hand and pulled down the train's chain. Gosh, the train came to a standing halt. Suddenly, the co-passengers also woke up and they were surprised and they asked this gentleman, "What happened? Why did you stop this train?" To this, the gentleman calmly replied, "See, few meters ahead of the train engine, the train tracks are broken. So I have stopped this train." The co-passengers were surprised. What is this man is talking about? In this pitch dark, being inside the train, how can he know that the tracks are broken? At the same time, the police guard and the TC entered his compartment and came near his seat. They asked him the same question. To him he replied, "Please go and check few meters ahead of the train engine. The train tracks are broken." Now, as already the train was at a halt, the police guard agreed to go and carry out a search to see the verdict of this gentleman, whether it is right or not. So, a three-member search team with lantern in their hands, they started walking towards the train engine. Going little further, to their utter surprise and shock, they found out that the train tracks were really broken. Had the train not been stopped, it would have been a major fatality and many lives would have been lost. Coming back, they all thanked the gentleman and asked him that how did you come to know about this? Friends, this gentleman was none other than the modern irrigation father of India. He was M. Vishweswarya. He was a legend engineer in himself and he was applauded many honors by the British government in that era. In his name, 15 September in India is still being celebrated as Engineers Day. The date is coming and many of the engineers might still not be aware of the same. Friends, why I've shared you this issue? Because coming back to the answer that how did this legend engineer come to know? He revealed that by knowing the change in sound of the track on which the train was going, he could know and realize that the train few meters ahead had been broken and hence he had stopped the train. So friends, the only reason of sharing this incident here is we also, while consulting GST or if we are into service, then while dealing with GST, we need to see it in depth in its true sense. GST, as I mentioned earlier in my opening remarks, we have to see the finer points of it. And hence, I've taken up this incident. Uh, Friends, I'll just pause a moment to check out. Is the slide visible to you? Yes, friends, I was just checking it out with my team. Yes, friends. So my next point is why attend this lecture. In my opening remarks, I've already mentioned that what is the real need for attending this today's session. Why consult clients in GST? Friends, if we are into GST and right now, as all of us might be consulting and giving compliance services, there are many more aspects wherein we can give value addition to our clients. GST consulting is just not related to filing 3B or 1, but it is much more further than that. By the end of session, we will come to a major conclusion for the same.
Your voice is not coming. You're not audible.
Uh, yeah, sorry on that. Some issue. Yeah, I'll continue. In the opening remarks, I've already mentioned why attend this lecture. In regards of consulting clients in GST, I would like to share that if all of us, those who are into consulting, we must be providing compliance services, that is filing the GST returns. But my dear friends, GST is a very in-depth subject. If we look at it from the other end, apart from compliance, there are many value addition services which we can deal with it. We'll see it at the end of the session, what that can be. Why learn GST in depth? The only reason I mentioned, there are many finer points for which we need to study it in depth. We need to have the cleverness and the legendary angle which the great engineer we discussed was having. Moving further, the next maxim very close to my heart says, either do not attempt at all or go through it. Friends, in GST, it is also the same. These are the few highlights of the sections and provisions and the rules of ITC. But please don't be afraid. We are not going to take a literal reading of the provisions. We are going to have this webinar in a little different manner than being held elsewhere. These are just for reference. We all must be knowing section 16, which deals with availment, 17, apportionment of credit, block credit, 18, credit in circumstances, and so on and henceforth. Also, I'd like to remind you, other members who want to admit Zoom, Zoom is having limited capacity. Please share with your friends. They can watch this webinar live, which is on FB link. The first section, 16.1, the first section, 16.1, which is very important. It says every registered person. Friends, I've underlined few words which are of utmost importance in the sense they not only tell what they mean to say, but we also need to see the hidden part of it. Here it is mentioned every registered person. So it implies that if a SSC, if a person who is not registered, then he will not be eligible to claim ITC. So for example, if I give an example of a young chartered accountant in practice, he might be having, say, the limit is 20 lakhs for GST. He might be having his receipts around 12 lakhs. So he might think that I need not go for GST because I'm below the threshold limit. Friends, in that case, the thing is, he needs to take a call whether by going into GST, it would be more beneficial to him or not. Another example is if a person who is dealing into some goods which are exempt or non-taxable right now, and later on during the same financial year, because of some notification, if those gets taxable, then there are chances he might lose some of the ITC which he could have been availed had he been a registered person. Next is subject to such conditions and restrictions as may be prescribed, be entitled to take credit of ITC on any supply of goods or services or both to him which are used or intended to be used. Friends, please pay attention over here. The wordings are which are used or intended to be used in the course of furtherance of his business. These words, they have a deeper meaning. Under GST, for example, if I'm buying some asset today for my factory use, and I'm keeping it idle in my factory. I've bought it to be used in factory for providing taxable output supply. But right now in this financial year FY 2021, I'm not required to use it and I've kept it idle in my factory. Then still will I be eligible for ITC? For example, under income tax, it is that you have to start using the asset to claim depreciation or henceforth. But under GST, the condition is if the asset is bought for the use of course of business, that is in the business or furtherance of business to improve or enhance my business, then I shall be eligible to claim ITC. So for this fixed assets which I've kept idle in my factory for say 1 or 2 years, till the date my intention is to use it for business and there are no other things attached with it, in the sense there are no other disclaimers that this asset I might not use it or I will dispose it of next year, then friends, we can take that ITC, although that said asset is not going to be used in business in this financial year. As we mentioned, to be intended to be used in furtherance of business. For example, if there's a pharma company, they're spending lot of amount in R&D, and right now under the COVID period, we all are aware of how much R&D is going around. For example, this finance company has this pharma company has spent 10 cr amount in R&D, but the product which they were trying to develop couldn't get successfully developed. Meaning henceforth, as the product couldn't be successfully developed, the 10 cr amount cost goes in vain. I mean, it is of no use. Then the question arises whether this ITC will be allowable or not. Friends, because of this provision under section 16(1) in GST, they can claim the ITC although it didn't give any outward supply or it didn't benefit the revenue as it is, but as the R&D was in the course of business for the furtherance of business, this ITC would be allowable. Just a moment, please. Yeah. Anything done in relation to business while carrying out business or simply a revenue generating ordinary activity of that concern. In case of partial use, the amount of credit shall be restricted to so much as income tax is attributable to its purpose. In case of partial use, exempt supplies, but excluding zero rated supplies, the amount of credit shall be restricted to ITC as per this section in the rule. One question which was very common during few months back, whether CSR activity would be allowed or not, whether it is considered in furtherance of business or not. Let's have a little glimpse of it. It says if CSR expenses are not incurred, it may affect the image of the company as it is mandatory for some prescribed companies. Keeping aside the objective, the same can be said to an activity which is ancillary to business. There was a case of SL Propack B1D, where it was held that CSR activities are to be included within the definition of activities relating to business. They had taken reference of some book issued by that. And in another AR, just a moment, there's some disturbance. And in the AR of Polycab Wire Private Limited, what it says, the applicant had distributed electric items like switches, fans, cable, etc. to flood affected people in state of Kerala on free basis without collecting any money. Here, the Advanced Ruling Authority rule that ITC shall not be available to them. Section 17(5)(h) does not restrict tax credit for services. Friends, this is a minor point to be noted. It restricts the credit for goods and not for services which are provided free of cost. So in my humble opinion, the tax credit against services which will be available would be, if you give services free of cost, you can claim ITC on the same. This I've mentioned some old press release to be taken in for the consideration of whether it is in the course of business or furtherance of business. Friends, we all are aware that press release and Twitter or tweets do not have a legal binding or validity. Still, for the sake of discussion, I've just taken it over here. Even though sale of all gold by an individual is for consideration, it cannot be said in the course of furtherance of business, as selling gold jewelry is not the business of the said individual. Same way they say for if an individual has bought a car for personal use and sells it after a year to a car dealer, the sale of old and used car is not in the course of furtherance of business and hence not a supply. Friends, in this point, many of us feels that why in the press release they have mentioned so, because whenever we are right now under the GST regime, if we are selling the car, then we need to work out the formula, the WTV, and we need to pay the GST if there's a value addition or if there's a profit. But please bear in mind here the words they've mentioned, individual buys a car for personal use. Personal use means it's assumed that that gentleman has not bought this. If he's a proprietor, that gentleman has not bought the car on his books of accounts. So if it is personal, it's a private car. It has got nothing to do with books of accounts, and hence, as per the press release, GST would not be levied on it. Next, it is sale of used car by dealers who was a dealer in chemicals are not sales in connection with or incidental to business of manufacture and sale of goods. He had a different line of activity and he sold the used car to one of the dealer. So this is the case law on it. It's an old judgment. I would like to proceed further for some finer and more interesting points. Conditions for claiming ITC. Friends, we all are aware of the 4 standard provisions which are there in order to claim ITC. He must be in possession of a tax invoice, debit note, or a document as prescribed. He has received the goods or services or both. Friends, as far as goods are concerned, we understand that once the delivery is done or we have got the challan for the goods supplied, the goods are delivered, a customer, I mean the purchase of the goods, he can take the ITC. There are many practical aspects and scenarios wherein what would be the case if I'm sending the goods on say 29th March 2020. The goods have reached the factory gate on 31st March, but their QC is pending. The goods have not been entered in the factory and they've received on 3rd April inside the factory. Then what would be the scenario whether that factory owner would avail the ITC for the goods on the basis of invoice in the month of March itself or April? It becomes a discussion and a little debatable point. Friends, I'm just sharing some of the finer points of food for thought. What can be the practical scenario as we move across the provisions? And as mentioned in the chat, and for those who are watching on FB Live, For Zoom participants, you can share your queries in the chat room. It will be brought to me by the support team. And for FB Live participants, you can anytime read the mail from which you have received the webinar link. It will also be shared to me before we close the session, and we'll take up the Q&A session for last 15 to 20 minutes. The third point, tax charge in respect of such supply has been actually paid to the government, either in cash or through utilization of ITC through the e-credit ledger. Friends, we all are aware of this point, but there are also a couple of practical issues related to it. One major issue is how can we be sure that from the person whom we have purchased the goods, I mean our supplier, has he filed his 3B? For example, even if he has filed his 3B, whether he has calculated our invoice in it, because earlier, as we all are aware, GST was going to come into 1, 2, and 3 returns, but for the time being, they have shifted to the present return structure, wherein it is very difficult to tell or say. For example, my supplier from whom I have purchased, he's having 50 invoices per month, from which 2 invoices are pertaining to me. Although if he has filed his 3B, he has paid his tax, etc., how can we practically ensure that he has shown my 2 invoices in his 3B? Only the department can ask for his say monthly ledger and can match the 3B. There might be cases of debit note, credit notes issues. There might be cases of error, mistake, or forgotten invoices, which his accountant might have shifted to the next month. So friends, this provision remains, but there are some practical issues behind it. He has furnished a return under section 39, the GSTR 1. Now the finer points. First one says AMC. Friends, as we've seen here in 16.2 clause B, he has received the goods or services or both. Now we have I've given and discussed an example on goods. Let's go for services. For example, in factory units, they've got AMC for various services, kind of AMC for fire safety services, AMC for some repairs of machinery, lift maintenance contracts, etc. Now, if my factory's AMC is expiring on Jan, my vendor would approach me in December, give me a quote, and would like to get his AMC renewed in Jan itself. He would be giving me the quote for entire 1 year, 12 months. We all are aware AMC goes for minimum 1 to 3 years tenure as per the industry segment. Now, if I'm getting the invoice of say AMC for fire safety in my factory in the month of Jan 2020, the period for AMC pertains 12 months, that is calendar year of 2020, Jan 20 to December 20. Now I close my books in March end. Then do I have to take ITC on pro rata basis, or can I book entire ITC on the basis of my invoice? Because if one says that yes, as we have the invoice, we can book the entire ITC for 12 months, then section 16.2 subclause B comes into play. So friends, it is advisable to restructure the AMC contracts, make them on a quarterly basis. So by end of quarter in the 4th month, I mean for first quarter in the month of July, we can admittedly say that the service period is over and we can take the AMC. Similar can be the case for audit fees received in advance. We all know when we consider the audit to be completed, it gets completed once the CS or the professional signs the audit report. Till the time the audit report is not signed, the service is remaining pending. It is not considered as complete. So similar aspects as we mentioned for the AMC, it also applies over here. Friends, here we need to understand the intention of the law. see, in case of making the law, there's also skills of the draftman, the person who drafts the act actually. And for which in my opening remarks I mentioned there are some general rules for interpretation which are very helpful in knowing or taking out the finer points of the provisions. Recently, I've also gone through one of the article written by my close CA friend from Bangalore. He had beautifully written an article just on interpretation of comma. If time permits, I've taken a small example at the end of my slide. We will go through it. And I'm also planning to share this article with you all by the mailers in next week. So friends, if even a comma is so important, then we can understand the relevance of each and every word the draftmen have used in this law. Last point in 16.2d says controversy regarding filing of return, not practical in some circumstances. Friends, we might be aware that there was a hue and cry that the GSTR 3B, which was the stopgap return, as considered as a summary return, and it had come in lieu of like not releasing of the 2 and 3 in the order as the department had planned earlier. This 3B had come as a stopgap arrangement, that is, it was not considered as a return itself. The same case was taken up in the case of App and Company. Yeah, the same matter was taken up with the Gujarat High Court, and Gujarat High Court had given the verdict in favor of the SSC, following which the government had to make some retrospective amendments stating that this GSTR 3B will be considered in lieu of, it is a return and will be considered in lieu of return. One of the points says how to claim ITC in September return. Friend, hereby I mean to mention that there is a chunk of ITC, for example, 10 lakhs of rupees, and the assessee and the consultant, are unable to determine whether this ITC is allowable or not, whether we should take it in for the previous current financial year before September of the next financial year or not. In my humble opinion, friends, it is a matter of little litigation as far as interest cost is concerned. We need to take the consent of the assessee. But if we don't take it, then we may lose it altogether. Because once the time frame lapses, then as we all are aware, we cannot take the ITC. So in my humble opinion, we can take the ITC, not utilize it, keep it in our books. Then if required in the month of October or November, once things gets clear, we can take some senior opinion or we can take a written opinion on the same, and then we can decide accordingly. Yes, the last week buzz of notification for interest on GST liability, gross or net. Friends, we all are aware, but just to brief a little bit for those who might have missed it earlier, the CBSE had issued an order when said that GST law permits interest calculated on delayed GST payment on basis of gross tax liability. The same position was upheld in a case by Telangana High Court. Moving further, in the 39th meeting, GST Council had decided and announced that interest in payment of delayed GST will be charged from net tax liability, and it would be effect from 1st July 17, and law would be amended retrospectively. However, to everyone's surprise, we are seeing that CBSE has come out with the notification dated 25th August 2020, wherein the effective date of notification is 1st September 2020. is the date in which interest would be charged on net tax liability through proviso to section 50. But now, friends, the question still remains what to be done for the previous period. I mean, the 3 years and 2 months which have already passed, would the interest liability to be calculated on net or gross? Looking to earlier judgments, facts of natural justice, and many other aspects, I am of the humble opinion that the interest liability should be calculated on net itself. But as far as this notification says, so it is the law. So we have to see the prospective availability of this benefit, and maybe it will eventually increase the litigations going further. Block credits, the most challenging and the likable subject of mine. I mean the topic. Friends, being this webinar and not a seminar, we have less of interaction. I mean, 1:1 or maybe asking questions. Next couple of points, if you have a paper and pen, kindly note it down and you can reply your answers in the chat box, or if you're viewing on FB, then via mail, what are your answer for the same. It's just a small exercise to make the session more interesting and we can know views of all. Please participate in answering, then we can take it up in the end. 2 points are specially kept for you all. If an office laptop is given free to the employee, during this past COVID period, we all have known work from home have increased to a larger extent, and many employers have started giving their laptops or purchase new laptops and given to employee for work. What would be the case of ITC in this regards? And the next example I would like to place it for you is, say, New Year Eve is coming up or some festival is coming up. The cross pen, the branded cross pens are distributed to all office employees free of cost. So whether the firm needs to reverse its ITC or keep it as it is. These two questions, friends, I'm throwing it in your court. Please participate and take some interest. You can give your views on over the chat or just drop a short mail. It will be a little good exercise for all of us. Moving further on our session, I've got this regular query in many of the webinars, seminars I've given, whether car repairs and insurance before this notified date would be eligible or not. I would also like to know your views on the same. But in my humble opinion, although the government authority has notified it at this date, if the ITC per se for that asset for the motor vehicle was not eligible or was blocked under section 17(5), then the ITC related to it, ITC in servicing or the accessories ITC behind it, that is car repairs and car insurance, also would not be eligible. But saying so, there is also another school of thought wherein they believe that as the government has notified it on 1st Feb 2019, after that period we cannot take it, but before that period, as it was not notified, it was an open query, we could and we can avail the ITC on car repairs and car insurance. So there are two school of thoughts in it. We have to choose which one suits us or in which one we have more faith or we believe in it. Renting of immovable property. Friends, in this era of ARs, we all are aware that many ARs are giving contradictory views. We are also going to discuss. I'm seeing the chat box and thank you for your comments. We'll be taking it up at the end of the session. Yeah, renting of immobile property, there are various areas which are contradictory to each other. Herein, I have taken a case of safari retreats, which was announced by Orissa High Court. In safari retreats, friends, it is a case wherein the assessee is building up a mall. The intention of building up this mall
ಭವ್ಯ,
is to give.
ಏನಿದು
Just a moment.
ವಾಯ್ಸೇ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ.
Need to mute others. The intention was to construct and give this on rent. The assessee argued with the court that if I'm not able to build this mall, if I'm not allowed to claim the ITC of services and many other similar aspects used in constructing this mall, then how am I going to give it for lease as say? So surprisingly, in this case, the Orissa High Court has held that safari retreats would be eligible for ITC for even services, many of them which I personally feel are always allowable. But in this case, the assessor got a High Court verdict that services like legal services, architecture services, some other services, consulting services related to construction would be allowable. Also, ITC for goods as far as lift and elevators are concerned, that also would be taken up. So here they had mentioned, the court had taken into account just 2 points, that construction for own account would not be eligible for credit, but he's constructing and is going to give on rent, which is in fact going to fetch GST. I mean, it is a taxable outward supply, which is going to fetch GST revenue to the government. One more example comes up, which is related to free samples. It's very much famous in FMCG products. For example, like Gillette Razor, they always give buy 3 get 1, buy 3 get 1 free, buy 2 get 1, get the third one free, something like that. Friends, I'd like to discuss an example on garment industry. Say a Louis Philippe shirt, branded shirt, they come out with a sale during the Diwali season or pre-Diwali era, that buy 2 shirts and get 1 shirt free. Now, we all are aware of the normal block credit rules, 17.5, which says that free supply or free gift, in that case, we need to reverse the ITC. In one of the case, I was upon some discussion wherein they had jotted down a good plan in its way, and it's also considered more legitimate or valid. I would just like to share with you for the finer point, and as I mentioned, food for thought. That SSC, what they were advised was that, okay, if someone is buying 3 shares, you are going to bill them only for 2. We understand. But as the stock is going on the invoice, you'll be writing 3 shares, you will be billing them just for 2 shares. Okay. So they were advised that, sorry, take out the costing of the third shirt, which all you have given free, say for the month. In the month, there were 100 shirts sold. So you have given 50 shirts for free, buy 2, get 1 free. So take out the costing of the 50 shirts which were given on free. Do not reverse the ITC, first thing. Secondly, put the expenditure of this shirts, 50 shirts which were given free, as the sales promotion expenditure in your P&L and book it at full amount. I mean, including GST. Do not reverse the GST. Do not take the ITC claim for this 50 shirts. So this was one of the methods suggested. So there are many ways with which you can effectively plan and also help out the clients in the way they want to do business or in the way they are already doing business. Directors' remuneration, we all are aware that the finance ministry has later on cleared out there was a AR wherein it was held that companies liable to pay GST under RCM, and the same view was held by Rajasthan AR. Taking it little faster, CBIC has issued that remuneration of directors have to be examined under two categories. In case of independent director, services provided by them to the company in lieu of remuneration as the consideration for the said services are clearly outside the scope of Schedule 3 of CGST Act and henceforth are taxable. The company has to discharge the applicable GST on RCM basis and take credit for the same. But in case of services, but for part of directors' services which are declared as salary in books of accounts and are subjected to TDS, would be falling under the bracket of the employer-employee relationship in the terms of Schedule 3, and hence the same would be outside the ambit of GST. But in case if the TDS is booked as a professional or technical services, that is under 94J, then the same would become taxable. So we need to plan it out in which manner the company is giving the remuneration, or we need to structure it for the more effective way. Friends, I hope you are enjoying this webinar. Please send some of your inputs in the chat as we move further. Yeah, this is a very good and interesting example to be taken. Friends, one suggestion which I would like to share, will be also taking a few ARs now. If you are referring to a AR, please go through the entire order or the judgment, meaning thereby to say just reading the headlines in some WhatsApp, media, newspaper, at times we might fail in getting the real crux of the AR. I'll explain it in a more lucid way when we go towards the AR related to roti and parota. It is a classic example wherein we can misjudge it and we may assume other way around. Moving further, in case of Chogle Industries Private Limited, it is AR from Goa. What had happened? I'm referring to the last para. In the instant case, applicant purchases demo vehicles against tax invoices from supplier after paying taxes. As we are all are aware, we must have gone to automobile showrooms where we take a test drive of the cars and vehicles. Now, the vehicle which the showroom people, the dealer gives us for the test drive, they intend and sell it after 3 to 4 years, saying it is a demo vehicle to a customer or someone further. Now, what this AR says, this demo vehicle is indispensable tool for promotion of sale by providing 12 run to the customer. The applicant capitalizes this purchase of such vehicle in his books of accounts. The capital goods which are used in the course of furtherance of business. As we all are aware, related to the motor car provisions of section 17(5), that which kind of vehicles we can get the credit and for which we cannot. So if it's a normal car, we are aware that we are not going to get the credit. But in this, it is a different case. This is the case the SSC is himself, the dealer, the showroom owner who buys demo cars, which is essential for him to run for his furtherance and in his course of business. So under this AR, the ruling was given that yes, he can take ITC of the same. Friends, please bear in mind, in one of the webinar which I was referring to, the speaker had misread it or had taken out another meaning. Thereby, they missed the word demo car and they just explained it with the word car. So the confusion again becomes more grave, that Usually we know that for car we are not taking, except for the provision stipulated. But in this AR says that ITC is available. So friends, the word demo makes whole lot of difference over here. So I'm just sharing this with you all. Thank you for receiving some comments, positive comments in the chat box. We are also open for feedback and suggestions that would like to have it from you later on. Yes, there's a request from the participant to go on building construction. We have taken it in brief and we are moving towards it. Yeah, this AR has already come, which I was referring to. Friends, we might have seen a lot of troll in media, so Twitter, WhatsApp, when this AR came out as back as in like 30th May was the judgment order. It came out in June that if roti is taxable at 5% and parotha, friends, please bear in mind the word I'm referring is PAROTHA, which had come out in media and the tweet trolls, and they had misspelled and taken it as parotha. The AR refers to parota, PAROTA. Parota is, for in common language, it is something similar to roti, naan, or a bread, what we call. It is mostly used in the southern Indian part. But this parota had some specularity. It was not the routine paratha which we understand. Let's take a final look at it and we understand it little at length. Friends, we are happy to receive your queries in chat. We have scheduled a half an hour time for the same, and once the time comes, I would like to take it up. And for those queries which cannot be answered, or if the queries are a little at length, and if we are short of time, we will mail you up the answer. That's not an issue. This year I was referring to is of Fresh Food India Private Limited, a Bangalore-based company which was involved in preparation and supply of wide range of ready-to-cook fresh food, including parotas, chapatis, whole wheat parota. Friend, please refer the spelling of parota. It is not the parota which we have in Western India and Northern India. It is claimed that their products such as frozen Malabar parathas and whole wheat parathas should be taxed the same way as khakra, plain chapati or roti. They wanted to know the taxability rate, I mean the classification under GST and the taxability rate for the items they have mentioned. Now, in this advance ruling, there were two other important points which the authority had seen. This parota, they have a shelf life of 3 to 7 days. We all are aware that the shelf life of roti or the paratha which we have in our daily food, it's just for few hours or per se just 1 day. So friends, firstly, this item is different. It has to be kept frozen. It has a different shelf life. Hence, by going into the merits, and I've also studied the AR in much length, I've also made a video for the same, which I'll be loading it on my YouTube channel, which you all can subscribe, and will be sharing a mail out also for the same. The YouTube channel name is spelled as CS Sunay Jariwala, as my name is displayed over here. It's the same. We'll be loading up new videos in it within a few days time. So friends, coming back to this AR, the assessee wanted to rule this under the classification of roti, but for the points I mentioned, it goes into a different classification, and hence it attracted a higher rate of 18%, while roti and chapatis attracted the lower rate of 5%. So again, meaning hereby to say, if we are just reading the media headlines, or if we are referring to the WhatsApp, which has not also the crux, which has only some brief information, we might also be misled that why roti and paratha have been charged differently. But my dear friends, they are in the entire AR, they are not mentioning about the PARATHA paratha, which we are normally referring to. This is parota. It is a specific item. It is a frozen item, and it has a altogether different shelf life. Also, one more point the advanced ruling authority had taken up here was this frozen parota needed to be preheated before it could be consumed. So there were few finer points on the product which led for them to their conclusion that it would be charged at 18%. Discussing this here, I'm recalled of VAT laws of UK, which just for interesting aspect and as an example I would like to share over here. At present in UK also, under the VAT laws, they say if you buy a cold sandwich, I mean a ready packed sandwich from a cafe shop or any shop, then it would be zero rated, that is VAT is not charged. And if you tell the vendor to give uh, to take this cold sandwich, heat it in the oven and then give it to you, then to your surprise it would become taxable and the relevant VAT rate would be applied on it. So friends, just by taking it away cold and by preheating, the tax rate changes from zero to taxable. This is a similar aspect at UK VAT laws. I was just drawing some reference wherein here they have mentioned preheating the parota, and there also they have something else in similar lines. We are moving further to the next AR. Just a moment. I'm sorry. Yeah. It says of GGL Hotel and Resort Company, AR from West Bengal. In this, what happened, friends? The applicant is into hospitality and real estate business and is making a new project on a leasehold land. He has sought for a ruling whether ITC is available for lease rent paid during the pre-operative period for this leasehold land on which resort is being constructed. As we all are aware, a construction usually takes 1 to 2 years time. So they wanted to take ITC for this paid on this rented land until the construction is carried on. Just a minute, I need to move. I had to mute a participant again. The prohibition from availing ITC as provided under section 17(5)(d) is not limited to civil structure being constructed. It extends to the immobile property in general, which includes the supplies received for retaining the right to use and develop the land. Such supplies are essential for construction of the civil structure on the piece of land. Effectively, going further on these provisions, that AR, in this AR, they refuse to give them the right of ITC for this, the payment to be made on the rent of the land for the construction period. Next AR is an interesting one, which is in the favor of the SSC. It brings smiles to many people over here. Purewell Stone Crusher, AR of Uttarakhand. Friends, please remain with us for the entire webinar. After the next few slides, we are going to have a good discussion on immobile property, whether we would get ITC on many of the aspects related to the immobile property also. In Purewell Stone Crusher, The applicant was engaged in supplying of grit and sand to his customers after purchasing from the Forest Development Authority while using vehicles like JCB, dumper, tipper, and Pokeland. Now, interestingly, friends, Motor Vehicle Act, wherein in the CGST they have taken the word motor vehicle, which is assigned in section 2 of subsection 28 of Motor Vehicles Act 1988. It does not include any of this mining equipments. So per se, this construction vehicles falls outside the purview of the motor vehicles. And as they are used for in the course and furtherance of business and all other conditions being satisfied, the GST charge on purchase of this earth moving machinery used for transportation of goods for mining purpose will be allowed as credit. It is allowed as credit. Now we are coming to the main point, which is related to immobile property. Just a minute, friends. Yeah. This is an old circular taken wherein, sorry, it has been clarified that if items assembled or erected at site and attached by foundation to earth, friends, please pay attention. It says it cannot be dismantled without substantial damage to its components or its use or its form, thus cannot be reassembled. Then the items would not be considered as movable and will therefore not be accessible goods. This talks of pre-GST excise era, but the substance we have to take over here is the third and fourth line. If it cannot be dismantled without substantial damage to its components, its form changes or the substance changes, then this item would not be considered as movable and hence it would be considered as immovable. Friends, as we all are aware, the specific definition of immobile property, we need to borrow it from the General Clauses Act. It's not mentioned in our CGST Act. Immobile property shall include land, benefits to arise out of land, things attached to earth or permanently fastened, anything attached to earth. Friends, hereby I remember one of the point made by one of our senior colleague, who is also a chartered accountant belonging from Southern India, that in the pre-GST era, there were 60 to 70% cases just related to ITC. So today's session, we have specifically taken it for ITC because taking the statistics from the past, I'm aware going further, whenever the litigation starts or come up in more numbers in GST, it would also fall more or less for ITC. So it's important for all of us to understand the finer aspects as far as immobile property is concerned. We need to guide our clients, those who are into capex, that is capital expansion things, industrial usage, etc. Because as you'd be seeing right now, the GST expect on the entire costing, I mean on their PNL, is as far as 25 to 30%. And in case of service industry, it is around 15%. So if at all we are able to guide them properly, then apart from a cost center, I mean, clients just see us like if we are consultants, then how much fees are you guys charging, or we are just paying fees to you for this work. Then apart from they just seeing us a cost center, if we are able to guide them and make like save their some of the ITC or give them a proper structure to claim their ITC or sir refunds, then apart from cost center, they may consider us as profit center. Friends, just a moment. Yeah, sorry for that. So I was referring to the profit center aspect. Please bear in mind there are many value addition services which we can give it to our clients, and if you are a participant in the industry or in the organization, then there are many aspects wherein we can save or give value addition services to your organization itself. Next is what is meaning by attached to earth. This definition we have to borrow from Transfer of Property Act 1882, Section 3. The term attached to earth means rooted in earth, as in case of trees and shrubs, embedded in earth in case of walls or buildings, attached to what is so embedded for permanent beneficial enjoyment of that to which is attached. Friends, please mark this last point. We might be having a AR, like I've referred it, it is in a slide. We'll be having a AR specifically on this query. Next, we are having the Jabalpur Entertainment Complex AR. It is the AR was raised for 3 queries. We'll just quickly go through it. I've got few more slides to complete and we are on the schedule. Whether ITC of GST paid on movie distributor revenue share bill, projector rental bill, similar can be claimed in full. Whether ITC paid for goods purchased in the case of maintenance, such as tiles, marble, granite, other aspects would be available. Whether ITC of GST paid on works contract services received from registered and unregistered contractor for maintenance contract can be claimed in full. We will quickly go through the same and then we will move on to our last aspect. Just a moment, I'm checking one of the comments. The ruling they mention specifically that in respect of the ITC for the first point, movie distributor sharing bill, projector rental bill, the ITC it will be apportioned to which it is utilized for providing taxable output services. I mean, we need to take it on a pro rata basis and apply the rule of if we can apportion it upfront, then it's fine, or we need to take it under the formula of Rule 42 and we need to apply it accordingly. As far as this maintenance of mall is concerned, we all are aware that tiles, granite, other bathroom accessories, and other stuff, once it gets fitted, it becomes a part of the immovable property. So I also agree with the AR ruling over here for the second point. And in case of third point, they've mentioned that as the GST is in the case of works contract, the ITC would not be available. Friends, I would like to skip couple of ARs so we can move further to the finer points and we can also have enough time to take up the queries. We will be also sharing the PDF of today's PPT in mail by next week, so you all can have it and refer it once again. Now this is the important table coming up. Goods or services are both received by a taxable person for construction of an immovable property on his own account, including when such goods or services are used in course of furtherance of business. Here they've given, I've taken few points of the provisions. They've given explanation for construction. What does construction mean? The expression of plant and machinery. Plant and machinery means apparatus, equipments, machinery fixed to earth. By foundational structural support that are used for making outward supply of goods, services, or both. Friends, these are provisions we are skipping it? Yes. Here comes the key point, one of the main aspects for today's webinar. I didn't want to keep the suspense more, so I've already upfrontly given up my humble opinion. Friends, there can be different views, but going through the provisions in the finer details, having a discussions around in the circle even with seniors, we have come up to the similar conclusion, wherein it says if you're applying, I mean, if you're installing lift at your factory premises or business premises, that ITC will be available. For central AC unit, friends, I've mentioned depends, because as we've seen those words, if your unit is installed in such a way that if you can easily dismantle it without hampering the structure, the duct area, and also the machinery part components remains the same, then maybe you can avail even the ITC on central AC unit. In case of DG sets, yes, there's a small controversy over here, which says that DG sets usually in the industrial areas, they need to be embedded. They need to be on a stone platform. Like from the ground, they need to make a 5-7 foot cemented box platform, and on it that DG set is installed. So if the DG set is put and installed on that platform, we can per se, it becomes a thing attached to the land. It may take the color of the immobile property. But friends, in my humble opinion, the ITC in case of DG sets would also be available. Next is color. The color which is applied on the walls of the business premises or the factory units would be available. Next point I've considered is electric fittings. Friends, here also I've written the word depends. The same explanation goes as per the AC unit. The next one comes electrical appliances. Yes, ITC is available very well because we install electrical appliances with just some nuts and bolts. We can remove it, dismantle it easily. It won't lose its form, nature, or the product or the structure. We can apply it easily and also remove it easily. So ITC here also is available. I've taken up specially a contradictory AR. In case of Las Palmas Cooperative Housing Society, Maharashtra AR, the society had gone into the renewal of its lift. I mean, they discarded their old lift and wanted to reinstall a new lift. As far as this AR is concerned, as we all are aware, the AR are applicable only to the applicant, and its reference cannot be taken by others or by the department. So in case of Las Palmas, the master advance ruling have given it in favor of revenue. They've mentioned and put their perceptions wherein they've mentioned that lift after erection becomes part of immobile property, and hence they have not allowed the ITC. Friends, one more point as far as fixed assets and immobile property is concerned. I would just like to take you to the last slide again. Yeah. If at all we want to claim and we are taking ITC, then please bear in mind that we keep the same structure in our books of accounts. I mean, as we all are aware, in the FAR, fixed assets register, we have got columns like, land and building, plant and machinery, etc. We are aware that if an item falls under plant and machinery, ITC under GST is available. If the same falls under land and building, then ITC is not available. So please bear in mind this classification in books of accounts is also essential to keep your claim of ITC. I mean, if you're availing ITC, then please don't show that fixed assets under land and building, and you need to show it under plant and machinery, and don't do it vice versa. So we need to keep our books of accounts in line with which approach are we following. This is a contradictory AR I just taken up to give you the reference for the same. I'll be moving further. We all are aware of the 10% ITC restriction, which was the rule was inserted since last year. And under COVID, they have given relaxation till September. So in 1 month's time, we all need to do the analysis of the cumulative 2A and check out whether we can avail this ITC or we need to reverse it. The question arises whether unmatched credits of prior months can be availed. In my humble opinion, the answer is no. Whether interest payable on reversal required in September on account of unmatched credit. If you reverse it in September, then no. But if you reverse it in the month of October 3B, then yes, interest needs to be paid. I'd just like to take up one point over here. This clause was taken up of the erstwhile era, wherein it says that in law the later cannot be expected to do the impossible. It is a trait that a law is not capable of honest compliance, will fail in achieving its objective. Friends, here we are referring to the same point we discussed. How can we know whether my supplier has put my invoice in his 3B return or he has paid tax particularly to my invoice, the example which we gave. There is Article 14 of Constitution which gives or protects rights of the citizen. However, since there is a specific provision in GST Act to deny ITC to bona fide purchasing dealer due to non-payment of tax by supplier dealers as mentioned in above, it will be a conflict with defined constitution which will prone to various litigations leading to courts. So friends, there is a school of thought which says that if all of the conditions are fulfilled, if you have the claiming documents, and if just your entry is not shown in the 2A by the supplier for whatever reason, then still you can claim the ITC, but this aspect would be a subject matter to litigation also. So please take care when we take a call for your industry or when we advise the clients. This was just the appointed date of PMT 9. Friends, moving further, I'm penning down a book on ITC. The name is Decoding ITC under GST. It would be having flowcharts, many practical examples, and I've also taken a reader's survey while making it. As a bonus chapter, rules of interpretation have also been there. It is just an upcoming book. I've put it here just for the reference. It will be out in due course of time and you may be intimated for the same. Please look forward to it. The next thing comes up is scope and flow of written opinion. Friends, we all have heard about written opinions. We might have seen, maybe given or also taken written opinions from experts in GST for consulting, that what is the classification, whether how to structure the transaction or how to structure a company pan India, whether we can avail ITC under this aspect or not. If our client is having a KPO services, he's giving services outside India, does it fall under the definition of intermediary services? Whether that ITC, whether that supply is taxable or it would be considered under export of services and it's exempt. Friends, there are many reasons for which a written opinion can be or should be given. In my humble opinion, firstly, please do not give advice to friends, colleagues, clients over the phone for technical GST issues or over the WhatsApp per se. Please ask them to mail it to you, mail you all the facts. And once you have the facts, you can go through it. Then You can systematically, if required, give them an opinion, or you can reply them on mail. Today we'll see what is I've mentioned for the scope of opinion. We'll see how a written opinion is to be given, what all factors and fundamentals should be covered over here. Firstly, we need to understand the facts which are communicated to us by the client. We also, it is like listening between the lines. We should not only hear what he wants us to hear, but we should also hear what he has in his back of the mind. To decipher this communication and see the facts from a different perspective, to identify the scope of query in a different light than what it appears apparently, the same thing I mentioned, to carry on in-depth analysis of GST provisions affecting a transaction, to carry out research on the same with a different perspective, to summarize our analysis, have a strong technical backing for analysis. If we are convinced, then we can convince the other person or the department. To test it in light of legal pronouncement under GST and also erstwhile laws, whose judgments are still relevant, to deliver the final conclusion. Just a piece of mention over here, friends. Under the US tax laws, under IRS US taxation laws, if the assessee has taken a legal opinion from the certified CPA there and he has acted upon it, then the department, their authority, does not levy penalty on the same. This is a good point which US have adapted, because we are seeing over here with the changing provisions of GST, numerous notifications coming out, many aspects which are, we can say, not clear or a gray area, and wherein there are two different school of thoughts. It always becomes a challenge on which one answer should we select. A written opinion always helps in future litigations with department if any arises. So please keep a practice of taking and having written opinions. It might seem a small cost today, but it may save a fortune tomorrow. Thank you, friends, for being with us. Now we'll take up the queries, and then I've also got a couple of other aspects, extra slides to deal with if time per se. Just give me 2 minutes. Don't go away. I'll just take the queries from my support team. As referred by my support team, CA Hani has already given few replies in the chat itself, and some are brought here for some discussion. I'll quickly go through them, and if required, we'll address it over here. I've also got few other points to discuss. And as the time shows, it's 6:25. We still have time to move further. Yeah, friends, a few of the questions which we can take up over here, I'm referring to. One question is stock of expired medicines, damage in transit or returned by retailers for which company does not reply remains unsold with wholesalers. What is treatment for this stock? Friends, specifically there is a clarification of circular number 72 oblique 46 oblique 2018 on it. You can opt for any one of the two options. One, it can be that wholesaler can take credit of return goods if all the conditions of section 16 are fulfilled. The expired drugs can be returned also as fresh supply, or they can issue a credit note by issuing a delivery challan within the time limit so that the tax liability can be adjusted considering the ITC avail was reversed. One question is for GST on fixed car rent, whether RCM is applicable or not. The answer to this is more in detail at length. I would like to prefer to take it up in the mailer which we have. We'll be mailing you the reply, maybe to all for reference. Building constructed and given for rent, can ITC on material used be claimed? Friends, we have already dealt two ARs related to it. Firstly, we need some specification for which materials are you speaking for. If the building materials you are referring to is steel, cement, bricks, etc., which goes in the pure civil construction, then to that my answer is no. If your question relates to other services or other aspects of lift and other things which can be attached or applied like DG said, then we have already discussed the slide. I would request the participant who have given this query, they can please reframe it and mail it up today or by today or tomorrow at his or her convenience. We would love and be ready to share it with you. Can we pay GST on FOC supply rather than reversing ITC, as it is difficult to identify ITC to be reversed? One opinion to this question goes that as there is no consideration, we cannot pay the tax on it first. We need to reverse the ITC itself. Still, you can take hold of my that buy two get one free shirt aspect, and if required, this participant is also suggested to, like, we already have his query, we'll mark it and send them across in a mailer. Next query is, when can the credit of GST paid on reverse charge can be taken? For example, I paid GST on GTA received in month of August in September month while filing return. Now, when can I take credit, whether in month of August return itself or in September month? Friends, here 2 points it needs to be taken care of. Firstly, whether this transaction related to which month, that is the GTA services. Secondly, when did you issue your self invoicing for RCM payment? Thirdly, the month in which you have booked it in your books of accounts, that month would be considered. In case of services, if you have not issued your self raised invoice, then within the time limit mentioned, you need to raise it or it is considered as deemed raised. So for the month of August or September, we need to follow the month of books of accounts. If it is booked in the month of August, then you need to pay the tax liability accordingly in the August return itself. as I'm getting few more queries, I've got couple of points highlighted for you, so we can discuss it that. Friends, two wordings which are coming up under this ITC provisions. One is limitation and one is prescription. I would like to just brief a little on these two words and their meanings. As we are aware that in case of refund, we need to apply within 2 years time. This time bearing aspect of 2 years is by the virtue of this word limitation. It means that the right to refund remains, but it's no longer enforceable. For example, if 2 years has passed, you may not be able to avail the refund, but yes, you can enjoy the e-credit balance of your ITC in your GST portal and your books of accounts. Similarly, if we take the word prescription, that is prescribed. In this, it is very specific and narrow as compared to limitation. For example, it is prescribed that we need to avail ITC within the time limit framed. I mean the before the September return of the next financial year or filing of annual return, which was earlier. So after that, it is lapsed. The right to claim your ITC vanishes. So limitation is a broader term and prescription is a narrow term if we look at from the SSC angle. I've already taken up the point of assets bought and not put to use for ITC. Friends, another interesting point during this work from home and COVID tenure remains that for the employers and organizations, those are having employees working from home. During the lockdown, maybe all major corporates and organizations were having employees working from home. So in the case of common credits like internet expenditure, mobile expenditure, similarly, they have used it for office purpose also, and maybe doing other part of the day in non-office hours, they might have used to surf the internet, see some web series on the available apps. So this is just a food for thought. I've taken up also the point of car repairs and insurance. Just give me a moment. We are referring to the chat and taking up further queries. One query coming up is, can we take credit on temporary shares? Friends, there is a relevant AR for the same. It is relevant in the sense it's not exactly for the temporary share, but it is related to the temporary structure. A assessee company, they made their factory building using the pre-developed model. I mean, they had the structure which was movable. It had just to be embedded, and with some tools and some binding, they could make it ready in a shorter notice. It was a movable structure. In that AR, the ruling mentioned that although the structure is movable, it is embedded to the land, and the structure is used as a kind of a workplace premises or a factory building. It gives the benefit of the immovable property to the assessee, and hence this structure, although movable in its nature, except that fastening or some minor installation which takes place, in that AR they had refused the ITC availability. In case of your point, for temporary shades, we need to see whether it is been, I mean, how it is being constructed, how it is going to be used. If you have a detailed query, we are happy to address you. You can kindly mail us on the webinar's link mail ID. One question is it must to raise self-invoice in case of RCM even if paid for taking GST credit? My humble opinion is yes, sir, you need to raise a self-invoice. The query from same participant is credit allowed on gardening service, employee training, workman compensation, insurance? As far as workman compensation insurance concerns, if it is a statutory requirement, then it would be allowed, else not. For employee training, under section 17.5, the word training is used. So for that aspect, I would answer in negative. And as far as gardening service is concerned, if we consider it as a housekeeping services and in furtherance and course of business, if we can relate to it, then I don't mind, we can take ITC for the same. But please bear in mind, in gardening services, it just needs to be taking care of plants. If you are also paying in the same invoice for adding new plants, which again becomes a part of the land and immovable property, then my answer may differ. So if you have more facts on the similar for the gardening services, please mail us. We would be happy to address it. In case of ITC relaxation is till 30th September 20, means before filing the September 3B, we need to check it out. If required, we need to reverse it while filing the September 3B. So in few days time, the few days September is starting. So friends, we need to also start the exercise for checking out the cumulative 2A credit of this COVID period. In case of question for ITC on purchase of sanitizer and provided to state government as CSR, there is a specific circular for the same. Kindly share us your mail ID. We would be happy to address it to you on the individual basis or to all the participants. That's not an issue. If we have more queries, you can share across and just give me a moment. I'll also cross check whether we have received more queries from the mail. In regards of this facility given to employee, please elaborate that it's mentioned in email later. Will it be considered as supply? I'll need further facts for the same. There are a couple of queries in the chat room which needs more deliberation. I'll be happy to share a mail or reply for the same. One question is any time limitation for ITC available in electronic credit ledger? No friends, there is no provision for expiry of your ITC in the electronic credit ledger. For CSR, if you want to know more details, we'll prepare a short article and mail it across. Friends, before we close the session, I have a humble request. Once the webinar gets over, kindly spare 5 minutes for me, in the sense would love to have your feedback and suggestions. How did you like the webinar? What more could have been done in the webinar, etc. There's always a scope of improvement, and we would like to uh, get, get some inputs also from you. I'm happy to share that this is my third consecutive webinar on the same topic, given in the last few weeks' time. And I've got a couple of things to share with you. I'll just take it up. I have one interesting slide at the end. Friends, we have jotted down few interesting phrases which the government has taken up and used in these provisions. For the viewers on Facebook, I would like to share once again. You may please email us the query on the same mail ID from which you got the webinar confirmation and the webinar links mail. We'll be happy to address your queries over there. Friends, this is a couple of last slides, and we'll be ending up on time. It's good to begin and end at the scheduled time. We know we're at just the beginning of the weekend. The word used here is available. Its dictionary meaning says able to be used or obtained. This word has been used in this section and rules. Friends, by this table, I just want you to dwell upon, think upon later on, that all these words look more or less, I wouldn't say similar, they tend to give some meaning or the other. But the draftman here has used different words. Now, as we are aware, under law and in a language, as I briefly mentioned, there's also importance of a comma. So a word here and there would make all the difference. I'll just take you to the reference words. Blocked. Now similar word they've used is restricted. Next is availed. Then is recoverable. Then is reversed. Reversed, refunded, and lapse. They've also put the dictionary meaning and the phrases, the section and rules where they are mentioned. They all are having near about some meaning or the other. Like available, avail is near about, blocked and restricted is near about, reversed and lapse is little different, but they per se the same thing. Friends, just give me a moment. There are some queries coming up from the Facebook live feed. I would like to address the same. There are a couple of more queries coming up on the FB live feed. If we are not able to take it up over here instantly, then please be rest assured, share your mail ID or mail us your queries little more in detail if required. We would love and like to address it to the same. Friends, hereby we would like to end the session. If you have some short query, we still have time and we are open. We can take it up in the chat box. We'll wait for 5 more minutes, then else we can wrap up our today's session. Also, after taking so many webinars and seminars, I do understand that there's always been a technical issue on whether ITC would be available or not, whether this will fall as a part of plant and machinery or immovable property. Friends, it is an in-depth subject, I mean, in its own. We may or we can plan a specific session on it for 1 or 2 hours just on these 2 topics. And for the same reason, I've decided to pen down the book on ITC. It will be out in due course of time. We'll also update you via emails when it is out, so you can look into it and subscribe or buy it as required if desired. Hereupon, we would like to end up the session. I request all of you to take 5 minutes after this session and share us your feedback, queries, and some suggestions as well. So I'll just check out the last chat we are receiving. Okay. We may reply in the chat session or over the email. We'll make a summary of the queries and we'll reply together, so anyone and all can take benefit of the same. Thank you, friends, for the patient listening and being with us today. It was wonderful to have you as an audience. Please take care, stay home, stay safe. And I'm happy to share we were having a registration of 750 plus pan India, and we are streaming it not only on Zoom and FB Live platforms as well. Thank you for being with us. We'll love to see you once again in some next seminar. Take care. Goodbye.